and he wanted to find a way to get out of this the British colonization. So what he did was he came up with a really good idea or unique idea, let's say. And then he gathered about 30 men, and they secretly went to Japan to train themselves to become really skilled soldiers. And after they graduated, then they came back and they brought back a bunch of Japanese in order to kick out the British. And actually he was pretty successful. He was pretty successful, but after a while, Japanese seemed to be worse than British. So then he turned back and he switched back to the British side. He went back to the British side in order to kick out the Japanese. And the very interesting thing is that the British accept him back, and then they keep fighting with the Japanese, but also at the same time over here, this side, the Pearl Harbor, and then eventually the bomb in Hiroshima and all this stuff happened. And that's also affect the Japanese in Burma, which eventually they ended up to retreat and then left the country. But another very interesting part is that Aung San didn't stop then. After the war, he went back to British and kept asking for independence. But then another thing you have to understand is that Burma is a very ethnically diverse country. So if you look at the map, well, in this map, it doesn't really show exactly where the ethnic minorities are. But roughly, this is the Kachin state. And then here is Shan state. Coming down here is Karenni state and Karen state and Mon state down here. And this is the Chin state, Arkin state. And this is the central Burma, where the majority, the 65% of the Burman population lives here. So Burman is the majority because they made up the 65% of the population. And the other 7 main ethnic groups, they made up 35%, and therefore we call them the ethnic minorities. So, knowing that Burma is a very ethnically diverse country, British told Aung San that, well, you want independence, which is understandable, but is this called include everyone's voices? Maybe you should go back and establish some kind of agreement among all the ethnic people. So then, Aung San came back, and they're trying to write a kind of like, well, the basic constitution for Burma, which was written and agreed on in a city called Pelong. And therefore, a lot of times we call it Pelong Agreement. And so Aung San came back, talked with Kachin and Shan and Chin, and they agree on that. But then the Karen and the Karenni, they didn't really sign that agreement, but they did agree on principle. And therefore, Aung San came back with that paper to the British and said, okay, look, here. This is the agreement we got from the ethnic groups. And that's when the British gave our country the independence. But then before let's say the independent, we became formally independent, Aung San was killed back in later 1947. And then we formally got independence in early 1948. So sadly, yes, he is sort of like, he is our founding father, you're George Washington, but sadly he didn't get to run the country and get to live to see the process. So that's how he came about. Yes.
How was he killed?
He was assassinated.
And who was responsible?
It's still in a big question. Nobody knows exactly who was that and who behind the assassination. But of course, when such thing happen, then usually there will be another opposition that wants to take over the power and all this stuff. And therefore, it happen that way. Yeah. Question?
Who was the leader?
I'm sorry?
Like, who was the guy that was assassinated?
Aung San?
Son.
How you spell it?
AUNGSAN. Yeah, AUNGSAN. Very interesting. Burmese, we don't have first name, last name. We have just one name. Yeah, that is, no, not SEN.
S-A-N?
Yeah. Yeah, yes, it's the one. So Aung San Suu Kyi's name is the combination of her father's name, her name, and her mom's name. So Aung San Suu Kyi, Aung San is her father's name, and her name is Suu, and then her mom's name is Kyi. So a lot of times in our Burmese culture, they also do that. They combine the parents' name for a given name for a child. So that's also happening. Okay, any more questions before we move on to a different subject?
She's no longer under house arrest.
No, she's not. She was released on the 13th of November last year, a week after the election.
And she was under house arrest for
15 years.
15 years. She won the Nobel Peace Prize.
She did, in 1990.
1990?
Whether 90 or 91, but early 90s.
So they let her out of jail right after the elections?
Yes.
Okay.
Do you guys have an idea why? Why after election?
So she couldn't run.
Exactly. Because she won the election in 1990. And she didn't get to run the country. So if she is running for election this time, she's going to win again. And they don't want to give out their power, so of course, let's hold on to her for a little while. After the election, then we'll let her go. What about that? That sounds good, huh?
Well, when are the next elections?
The by-election is coming up in April, and she is running for by-election. But one thing I want to bring to your attention also is that the current situation. Maybe you might have heard about, or maybe you might have read news here and there about change in Burma. Especially the political prisoners are released, the more access to internet, and then there is relaxation in censorship and ceasefire with the ethnic minorities. We'll go through that later, one by one. But going back to the election. Okay, before we go to election, something I want to help you understand is that when you look at Burma politics or governmental structure, Burma has two entities instead of one like we have here, Obama, the commander-in-chief and the civilian president. But in Burma, it's not that way. Burma has the chain of command. The top is the military, the commander-in-chief, named Mae Aung Hlaing. And then coming down under the commander-in-chief, it's the defense council. And the 11 people in the big 11 people in the council are the military or the ex-military people, even including Thein himself. And then, of course, the third tier, the third level is the civilian government, President Thein. And of course, then coming down to the parliament and to the state and then to the local. And here the by-election, which will be coming up on April the 1st, that's, there will be 48 seats open up. And these 48 seats, the 48 seats is made up the 5% in the parliament. So think about it this way. Even if the opposition groups, because right now there are 17 parties that will be competing for these 48 seats. And even if these 18 parties won all the 48 seats, still there are only 5%. And here the military has the 25%, and Thein Sein, the government right now, has the 60%. And so the 5% is not really enough. And that is why a lot of people were saying, oh, if Aung San Suu Kyi is getting win this time, is it going to change the whole situation, the whole dynamic in the country? I'm going to tell you, most likely not. Think about it this way. How much power she's going to have and how much she will have to maneuver through this military and the ex-military and the government who is in power right now. So most likely there won't be change. But if we look at things at the bright side, well, 5% is still something. So trying to get that 5%, and maybe next time, if we're lucky enough and get another 5%. But of course, I mean, this is just my perspective because I'm trying to be a positive person. But after all, it's not really that fun to be positive anyway. Okay, so going back to what changed and what not changed. We talk about the first thing, the release of the political prisoners. Well, it sounds good. They released like 300 plus political prisoners in a day. But these people are released under the condition of Article 4.1. What does that mean? It means that these people can be arrested again, can be arrested anytime if they do or say something against the will of the government or if they don't agree with the government. And if they are arrested this time, they will have to serve whatever jail term that they have left from the last time, plus the new sentence. So for instance, Zagana, the very famous comedian, he had, the last time he had the overall for 59 years, and he served 13 years. So he still have 36 years, right? I'm horrible with math. So he still have 36 years, but now he's released. In case, if he is arrested again, and if he is sentenced to another 10 years, so that 10 years plus 36, it is 46 years. So that doesn't really make that much difference, yeah? And this is the situation with the political prisoners. So the international community or the media make it sound like it's a huge change thing, but I wanted to help you to understand that no, it is not. Well, the internet users. Think about a country where there are 55 to 60 million population. And the people who have access to internet is less than the total number of the internally displaced in the year of 2011. Okay, what is that total of internally displaced people in 2011? 170,000 internally displaced. That's the highest number in a decade. And the internet users' number is less than that 170,000. So it's just like 1% of the population of the whole country that have access to internet. So that doesn't really mean anything. But why they have to do it that way? Well, because they're afraid of something like the Arab Spring type, because